This is the CJ Silas Show. She's been talking sports for over half her life. You'll hear big-name guests and all the hot topics. Her roller derby sisters call her Dodge Her Blue. CJ's proud of her California roots and time in New York. Born and raised in L.A., college at USC and Syracuse University. She's not afraid to share her opinions with you. And, like it or not, she wants to be the change. Ladies and gentlemen, all ears and no mask required. Here she is, CJ Silas.
Hey, welcome in. Live and direct from the ESPN Radio 1280 AM and FM 101.7, the Ticket Studios in San Luis Obispo. Oh my gosh. I sometimes, just like once in a while, I would like the show to go on at like 5 minutes before it's supposed to go on with video to see what we are doing. Because sometimes we are scrambling to get like, oh my gosh, there's the open. We got to get ready for the show. And we have this, we've been doing this for 9.5 years. We do a fist bump right before the show starts with everybody that's on the staff or guests that are in studio. Now, pre-COVID, we did it and we didn't even think about it. With COVID, everyone's got to put on their mask. And if you're a stranger, you got to wear the plastic glove. No, I'm joking about that part. Thank you so much for being here. I'm in such a better mood today than I could have been. I could have been foul today. A, had the Astros beat the Braves yesterday to send the World Series to a Game 7. Or B, had the Miami Dolphins and somehow the Houston Texans found a way to move Deshaun Watson to the Dolphins. Thank goodness neither of those things happened. The best thing is I had a wonderful day in sports yesterday because I was celebrating, well, really it was last night, celebrating the Braves' huge win over the Cheaters. And then by 1 o'clock Pacific time, I knew that the Miami Dolphins were not going to be home to one of the most awful humans in the NFL. Just saying. And it's going to be a long time before that guy throws a football for the NFL. I still would like to talk to Roger Goodell. Does anybody have Roger Goodell's phone number? Roger, this is what I would say. Hi, Raj. It's me, Siege. How's it going? Good job on the NFL stuff. Great way to use pink during Breast Cancer Awareness Month to make us all think that you really care. Oh, yeah. And I love all your friends. They're really cool. They're super down to earth, and they really care about humans and the planet. And by the way, put Deshaun Watson on administration effing leave. Put Deshaun Watson on administrative effing leave without pay. I know, the without pay won't happen. But Raj, come on. Raj, it's you and me. We've been friends for years. Come on, Raj. Raj, it's me, Siege. Okay, maybe not. It's just a dream that I can have. It was a really good day because the Braves won, and I don't even care. You know what? Listen, Ryan Leaf could be the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins right now, and I actually like Ryan. He's been on the CJ Silas Show. Johnny Manziel, nope, that wouldn't work. Pretty much anybody active in the NFL with QB next to their name on a roster would be preferred to be the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I was struggling because I've been a Dolphin fan over 40 years. And I remember when Jimmy Johnson became the head coach and I didn't like him. It was hard for me to be a Dolphin fan then, but I did it. I suffered through. This would not have happened. I would have revolted. Revolted? I would have had my own personal CJ Silas revolution, and I would have left the Miami Dolphins. But I don't have to because the trade deadline came and went, and there was no movement of Deshaun Watson to the Miami Dolphins. Thank you. Thank you. Happy times. It is a CJ Silas Show. It's a short show because the Cal Poly basketball team is back in action tonight for their first game of the 2021-2022 season. And they're going to start their pregame show a little bit early, a little before 6. So we will be short, but we are full as can be. We've got Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network. She's one of the first NFL analytic experts. I didn't even know they used analytics in NFL, right? Isn't it mostly baseball? So we're going to ask her about that. She's been one of the smarty pants in the room her entire career. We will talk to her in a little bit. And then Cal Poly women's basketball coach, Faith Mimnaugh, will be on the show as well. We're going to get to that. But I do want to celebrate Black history, as I do every week on the CJ Silas Show, celebrating brown and black people in sports, in civil rights, and in the United States and what they've done. And I try to do it with people that are born in the month. Colin Kaepernick, his documentary or docu-series just started last weekend as well. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Born November 3rd, 1987, he's an American civil rights activist and former NFL quarterback. In 2016, he knelt during the national anthem at the start of an NFL game in protest of police brutality and racial inequality in the United States. He began his professional football career as a backup to Alex Smith, but became the 49ers starter in the middle of the 2012 season after Smith suffered a concussion. He then remained the team's starting quarterback for the rest of the season, leading the team to their first Super Bowl appearance since 1994. In the 49ers' third preseason game in 2016, he sat during the playing of the national anthem prior to the game, rather than stand, as is customary, as a protest against racial injustice, police brutality, and systemic oppression in our country. The protests received highly polarized reactions, with some praising him and his stand against racism, and others denounced his protest. The action resulted in a wider protest movement, which intensified in September 2017 after the president said the NFL owners should fire players who protest during the national anthem. In November of 2017, Kaepernick filed a grievance against the NFL and its owners, accusing them of colluding to keep him out of the league. He withdrew his grievance in February 2019 after reaching a confidential settlement with the NFL. One quick note about Colin Kaepernick. He was sitting during the national anthem, but after meeting privately with a Green Beret, retired Green Beret, they talked about it. I think his name was Nate Boyer, I think. Will you look that up, Gabe? I'm pretty sure he was Nate Boyer. They had a long conversation, and Boyer said, I understand what you're doing. I support you, but the best way to honor it without disrespecting it is to kneel rather than sit. So from then on, Kaepernick, other players in the NFL, and other players in sports chose to kneel at the national anthem, which in tune decidedly did not disrespect the flag. Chadwick Boseman, born November 29th, 1976. After studying directing at Howard University, he began working consistently as a writer, director, and an actor for the stage-winning, and then won a Drama League directing fellowship as an actor in Audelco and being nominated for a Jeff Award as a playwright for Deep Azure. He then transitioned to the screen, landed his first major role as a series regular on Persons Unknown in 2010. Chadwick Boseman's breakthrough performance came in 2013 as a baseball player named Jackie Robinson in the biographical film 42, one of my favorites. He continued to portray historical figures, starring as singer James Brown in Get On Up, and as lawyer and future Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall in Marshall. Boseman achieved international fame for playing the superhero Black Panther in the Marvel Universe from 2016 to 2019. He appeared in 4 Marvel films, including a 2018 film that earned him an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a Motion Picture, and a Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Cast in a Motion Picture. In 2016, Boseman was diagnosed with colon cancer, didn't tell anyone about it, kept it really private, continuing to act while also extensively supporting cancer charities until he died of the illness in 2020. Chadwick Boseman changed the world in film, left an indelible mark in Hollywood and in so many young people's hearts when he played Black Panther in Marvel. And he was gone way too soon, Chadwick Boseman. Get a little worked up on that one. Shirley Chisholm, born November 30th, 1924, an American politician, educator, and author. In 1968, she became the first black woman elected to the U.S. Congress, representing New York's 12th district, a district centered on the Bedford-Stuyvesant for 7 terms, 1969 to 1983. In the 1972 U.S. presidential election, she became the first black candidate to run for a majority party's nomination for president of the United States and the first woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. In 2015, Chisholm was how do you say that? Posthumously? Gosh, there are a few words I can't say, and that's one of them. She was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom after her death. Shirley Chisholm. Black History on the CJ Silas Show every single week as we continue to celebrate and honor brown and black people in sports, in civil rights, and in Hollywood. I do want to thank my partners for allowing me to do what I do. We want to welcome Jim Nazzo of San Luis Obispo, dentist Dr. Daniel Lapidus and Larry Ackerman, dermatologist Dr. Brad Kurgis, Rex Stevens at the Slow Wellness Center, California Fresh Markets, the Avila Bay Athletic Club and Spa, Michael Moore Sports Recovery and Joy, Shell Beach, California Fresh Markets, where I shop on 5 Cities Drive in Pismo Beach, on Foothill Boulevard in San Luis Obispo, and in San Ynez El Rancho. The best bulk food section, organic produce department, and the deli staff is amazing. California Fresh Markets. Coming up, NFL Talk with Cynthia Frelund the day after the NFL trade deadline, and some Cal Poly sports as well. You're listening live to the CJ Silas Show on ESPN Radio 1280 AM and FM 101.7, The Ticket.
The CJ Silas Show is back. Make sure your seats are in the upright and locked positions. Carry-on luggage stowed and opinions intact. Here she is, CJ Silas.
Welcome back to the CJ Silas Show. What's really super cool, I've been so lucky in my life to meet cool people. I've been doing this for such a long time, but it's always fun when I have someone on my show that I've never had. And what's really, 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 really bitching about the whole thing is that there are so many more women doing this now that it's not hard to find smart women doing sports because it's accepted now. And we'll not even get into the fact that it wasn't at one point, but it's just neat. And this woman is not just smart in sports and scholastically, but literally she's an expert and one of the first analytics expert in the NFL. And she's coming on my show. I'm a little nervous. Her name is Cynthia Frelund. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you so much for having me. What a nice introduction. Thank you.
It's really bizarre. You're a little younger than me. We're not going to say how old I am or you are because we don't want people to figure it out. But it's just, Sarah Spain was just talking about this. Jessica Mendoza was on my show last week. She was talking about this. To be women in this business that are over 40 or 45, which I am, and to see so many of you under 40 to 45 coming up, getting the opportunity, it just warms my heart. In fact, I probably could do shows for a whole year and not have to have a guy on my show again.
Well, those are some big shoes to follow. I mean, Sarah Spain's great, and
I know.
Look, there's a ton of great women out there. So, yeah. Look, I the funny part is the internet actually has my age wrong, saying I'm too old, which is hysterical to me. But I won't change it because it also says my dad is MacGyver, which makes him immeasurably happy. So we're just not going to worry about it. I don't even know who do you even call to get that thing.
Wait a minute. The guy that played MacGyver, what was his name? Jeff? I already forgot his name, but I interviewed him years ago. He was a hockey guy. He played hockey after he finished acting. And Anderson, Dean Anderson, something Dean Anderson, Jeffrey Dean Anderson, the guy who played MacGyver?
Something like that,
Okay, well, anyway, how did that work out that your dad is MacGyver?
Well, I think I said one time somewhere, because my dad can fix anything like MacGyver, and so I was like, you just give him, the man just needs like a stick of gum and like a match, and he can get you out of any problem, right? So I guess whatever, they picked that up, and they're like, her dad's MacGyver, and my dad just gets so happy about it. He tells all his friends that he's MacGyver. So, I don't have the heart to be like, well, but they also say that I'm like 5 years older than I am.
Oh my
but whatever.
Gosh.
All good.
Richard Dean Anderson. She started with the NFL in finance in 2008. She's a Boston College grad. She got her MBA at Northwestern. Cynthia Frelund is an analytics expert, and you can find her on the NFL Network at 6 a.m. Pacific, on game day. She's amazing. In fact, one of my kids on my staff said, "Oh my gosh, she helps me with my fantasy team all the time." So I was like, "Okay, cool. We want her on the show." Yesterday, not as eventful as some of us thought. Some of the big names that didn't move: Allen Robinson, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brandon Cooks, Marlon Mack, OBJ. But the biggest one to me as a Dolphin fan was Deshaun Watson, because I literally, Cynthia, I said, I'm a fan first. And if my Dolphins, 45 years after I became a fan, are going to pick this guy up, I'm going to have to find a new team. I was so thrilled that Watson did not become a Dolphin. What's the chance that kid plays in the NFL over the next couple years?
The hard part about all of this is I don't think anyone wants to deal with the uncertainty of figuring this one out, because with COVID and the timing of everything happening, he doesn't get, there's no win, right? He doesn't get his day in court, which everyone is owed. He doesn't get that until after the season's over. And he doesn't get kind of civil and criminal and all these different measures of the law, meaning we don't know or have a clear picture of kind of what happened from an unbiased third party yet. At least the league office hasn't done their final findings of it. And unfortunately, because of COVID, all that stuff has slowed down. So it's actually probably the best case scenario that he is not playing this season, so it can net out in a way where we have a real picture. Because you'd hate to, you don't want an innocent person to not have their chance to really speak for themselves. But at the same time, there are so many women that have come out. It just seems like the number is so huge that, it's hard to imagine that nothing happened, but we don't want to. I don't know what's the precedent you want to set there, right? And I would argue, you probably want to set the precedent of letting everyone have their kind of justice, and then being understanding after that, figuring out what to do. So I don't know. I think he's going to play again. I just think it's a matter of when and where and how long. And is that unfortunate? Well, it really depends on what happened and the extent of it, because it seems like something pretty bad went on, and we'll have to see how it gets handled.
I kind of get upset, and I tease Roger Goodell about it on the show, and I did even earlier, because when Trevor Bauer in Major League Baseball had two different situations happen before the second one even came out, Major League Baseball put him on administrative leave. Well, I don't understand why, with 22, maybe 23 allegations against this guy, the NFL hasn't put him on administrative leave. It's two different leagues. They're handled differently. But at least as long as he doesn't play until we figure it all out, then I think it's more fair. I'm just glad that the Dolphins didn't inherit the saga and the drama.
Yeah. Look, the Dolphins are already... I like the Dolphins. I went to college with Brian Flores. We're actually he was a couple of years ahead of me, but I knew him pretty well since college. And he's a type of person who you want to root for. He's a great dad. He's a great leader. He's a great communicator. He is a really great man. And I was curious to see how this would all net out, because it didn't seem to be aligned with the person that I know firsthand and the firsthand experience that I have had with him to want to take on such a problem in the name of potentially getting extra wins. So they've got some problems to address in Miami in terms of winning games, but this is totally separate, and I'm glad that I will be interested to see how my friend and the human being that I really, really admire handles all of this stuff going forward, because I don't think that the rumors were wrong. I think that the uncertainty was too great around how to handle all of this, especially considering no one's jobs are necessarily safe in the NFL when you're not winning.
I'm glad to know that he's a nice person, because he comes off that way. She is Cynthia Frelund. You can see her every Sunday on NFL Network's NFL Game Day morning at 6 a.m. Pacific, and she's an NFL Network analytics expert. Find her and follow her on Twitter at CFrelund, Frelund. She is joining the CJ Silas Show for the very first time. Probably the biggest move that happened before the trade deadline yesterday was the Rams picking up a linebacker, Von Miller. They've got a great offense. They needed a little help on D, and General Manager Les Snead just does it. He's got skill, and he knows how to add leadership, which is just what Von Miller's going to do. They only used 2 draft picks. How good is this for a move for a 7-1 Rams team?
I like the trade in general, but the Rams are really they're really putting a lot of emphasis on winning right now. I mean, obviously the cap goes up next season, and then it goes up again after that. So they're banking on the fact that they're going to be able to use the known quantity, the known entity, and get the most out of each one. It really, by the way, helps when you have a guy like Aaron Donald and another guy like Jalen Ramsey to anchor your defense, and then you got that other guy, Matthew Stafford, and then that other guy, Cooper Kupp. It helps when you're adding to an already, very, very rich patchwork of a team, as opposed to kind of starting in a rebuild. They're much closer to – I don't think any team is one player away from winning the Super Bowl because, that's just not how the NFL works. But I think that they're very close, and they have a Super Bowl caliber team. So it's kind of like, you go to a picnic, right? And there's like all these awesome things to eat, and you're like, the diet starts tomorrow. And then you're like, well, you know what? The diet starts tomorrow, too. Because they've created a problem for future Les Snead and Sean McVay. But if you win the Super Bowl, a lot of those problems seem a lot less, murky if you can manage to win that Super Bowl.
Cynthia, if you look at yesterday, what trade did you think was going to happen that didn't happen?
I thought now we're seeing the fallout today with Odell Beckham Jr. and not, they said today was like a personal day, like he got the day off with that. And Kevin Stefanski came out and said something like, he's not a part of the team right now. He's not even hanging out, and all this parent drama with tweeting and isn't he an adult? He needs to pay millions of dollars. Why are his parents tweeting? But I thought we would see a trade there, and it really just goes to show that his contract is structured in such a way that it's just too punitive for any team to take on what at least it was in the kind of the current form. So if he clears waivers, they can kind of redo that contract. But I think we'll see him eventually end up with a different team. But I thought that they would get it done in a much more smooth and easy way, as opposed to whatever this clunkiness is that seems to be a lot more of a distraction than anything else.
She's the NFL's first analytics expert. You can find her on NFL Fantasy Live and NFL Game Day mornings. She's been with the network since 2016. She's a Boston College grad. She runs marathons, which is super awesome, and she's Cynthia Frelund, joining the CJ Silas Show, analytics expert in the NFL. We hear it in baseball all the time. It's one of the biggest criticisms about the way the game of baseball and the show of baseball as an entertainment component has changed. Analytics in football is a little different. How much do you think it affects the daily? Actually, no. How much do you think it affects each decision when it comes to plays on the field during a game?
During a game is interesting because I'm pretty lucky that I get, from my vantage point, to see which teams are using in-game analytics and which teams aren't. Now, there's a couple of things that make football unique. The first, you've got 11 pieces on each side moving at the same time, which is ridiculous, and makes it so that it is such an imperfect science that really all you're trying to do is make the quality of your decisions a little bit better, right? Each decision, just give it a little bit more context so you know when you're taking the higher or the lower probability chance, and then you can, kind of create the mismatches and use that to help keep yourself sane and unbiased in high-pressure situations. The thing that is interesting about, I can see which teams use it and which teams don't. The biggest thing is actually clock management, at least right now. You have seen a lot more teams go for it on fourth down this season than we have kind of ever before. And part of that is because it's really more about clock management and not just when to call a timeout, but when to use tempo versus when to slow down the drive, when to mix in, line changes, right? When you're going to change different people in and out, or when to catch the other guy off guard. That's really why these fourth downs are working, because they're viewing third down, like the Chargers have been viewing third down like it's fourth down, or like it's second down, so that they don't have to, they do things like run or things that are kind of improbable, because the defensive personnel on the field, they have a mismatch there. So when you look to see what's going on, it's really more about figuring out the time and the time remaining. I actually got a chance to talk to a coach this morning, and he was like, if I could just figure out how to score, 6 points slower in the end of games, that would be great. But you can't do that. This is not how the game works. So, it's more about making little decisions, especially earlier in games, that give you nice momentum and use the probabilities to work in your favor. And most of that relates back to time.
I'm so glad that I found you, that the NFL Network offered you to me to have as a guest on my show, because I admire your work. It's really cool to see you on the NFL Network. And I also, and we don't have time this time, but I am going to reach out to you again if it's okay. But I know that you're
Absolutely.
a supporter of Bright Pink, which is very similar to my basic charity that I am, is closest to my heart, which is B4BC, which is Borders for Breast Cancer. And it's all about prevention rather than research and cure. And it's such a big deal. And I appreciate you being out there and representing yourself in a way that's not only professional for the NFL, but also a great spokesperson for something like Bright Pink. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad that you're into that, too, and I'll come on anytime you want. And I'm glad that you, too, support something. Education, prevention, that's where I focus, because that's the thing you can kind of control a little bit more. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your preparedness.
Hey, producers, did you hear? She said she'd come on anytime. Woohoo! All right. Thanks, Cynthia. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself.
You got it.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Thank you so much. Cynthia Frelund, analytics expert, NFL media's first analytics expert. You can find her on NFL Fantasy Live and NFL Game Day. Coming up, Cal Poly. We'll talk basketball and the sports update. You're listening to the CJ Silas Show on ESPN Radio 1280 AM and FM 101.7, The Ticket.
We're back with the CJ Silas Show on ESPN Radio 1280. Here's CJ.
Welcome back to the CJ Silas Show. This segment is brought to you by dentist Dr. Daniel Lapidus and Larry Ackerman. They support Cal Poly Athletics. They're open at 8 a.m., very easy and early and convenient in Bishop Medical Center. She is a friend of the program, and oh my goodness, I guess it's her 25th year, but last year I don't really want to count, but we're going to say 25 years-ish. She's the head coach of the Cal Poly Mustang women's basketball program and a friend of the CJ Silas Show. Faith Mimnaugh. Hi, Coach.
How are you, CJ?
I'm doing well. I can't wait till this is over and you can come back in studio, because this is 2 years in a row where I don't get to see your fabulous face. Gosh.
That's very kind of you. I do
Serious.
miss seeing you as well.
Goodness. How's it going now? I mean, last year, we're not even going to talk about last year. Now you're coming into a new year. You're not dealing with the pandemic like you were last year, which was so much fear. The vaccine wasn't prevalent. Now we're at a new place. We're in the middle of 2021. We're all feeling a little bit better. You've got 8 returners, 8 newcomers, 6 true freshmen, a couple transfers. How do you feel different than you did coming into the beginning of last year?
Well, last year during the summertime, we weren't allowed to pass the ball to our players. They had to have their own ball. They had to disinfect after every pass. We could only have 6 players in the gym at a time. So we got to train with the team for 8 weeks of summer without worrying about having to disinfect balls every time a pass is made. And so we're so much further ahead. We still, because we have so many new players, we're still not where a coach wants her team to be at the beginning of the season, but I think every coach in America feels that way at the moment. But for us, I think the blending of experience and new talent is going to be a work in progress for sure. But I'm excited about that journey and very, very excited about the talent that we've been able to bring in.
You've got a game this coming Saturday, and it's free for everyone inside the Mott Athletic Center against Cal State San Bernardino. And then the regular season opens on the 10th, which is next Wednesday at Santa Clara. Injury-wise, how is it going? I know you lost one of your leading scorers, one who's graduated and moved on in Sierra Campesano, and you lost Abby Ellis. How are you feeling inside with the optimism or skepticism or pessimism with opening up the season next week?
Well, we do return Kirsty Brown, who was a starter for us last year. She's in her second year of grad school, so glad to have a steady hand inside for sure. We're definitely going to be missing the scoring punch of both Sierra and Abby. There's no doubt about that. However, it will create opportunities for others to step up into different roles and probably have a more balanced scoring approach than we had with those 2 fabulous talents that have moved on. So I think that our health is relatively good. We do have the 2 players that were transfer students are coming back from injuries, so we may see limited minutes or no minutes for them this Saturday, but we're hoping to have them back in the swing of things within the next few weeks. Every day it's a hold your breath kind of thing, and
Right.
hope they don't get re-injured.
Oh, gee.
But they're making progress, and we, from the transfer perspective, we certainly think that these 2 players will log a lot of minutes should they be healthy.
Well, that's good news. She is the head coach of the Cal Poly women's basketball team, Faith Mimnaugh, on the CJ Silas Show. She took her team to the NCAA tournament in 2013, Big West champs for the first time in program history that year. And here we are with a full season and 16 home games of Cal Poly women's basketball, which is awesome. They'll even be home over Thanksgiving. And this is kind of crazy, Faith. You've got Louisville coming into town. They were seeded number 2 in the NCAA tournament last year. John Smith, the men's coach, his daughter's on the team. You also have Northern Arizona Cal and Cal Baptist before the regular season starts. That's a pretty heavy schedule for you, would you say?
It's a very heavy schedule. Obviously, Louisville's, I think, ranked in the top 10 again this year. And, they've got almost everybody back, and then some transfers that they've got in that will be eligible immediately with the new rule. And this is a special favor that we have for John. I think it's really cool that he'll get a chance to see his daughter playing. Hopefully Louisville will be kind to us. I hope his daughter plays very well.
Yes.
I hope we play even better and can compete as best we can. The other teams are formidable as well. For instance, Cal Baptist last year only suffered 1 loss their whole season, and that was in the tournament, the WNIT tournament. And to my knowledge, they've got everybody back as well. They're very, very, very talented. So there's no gimmies on our schedule for sure. Everything that we get, we're going to have to really earn. And I think that the girls have incredible work ethic. I'm really proud of how they've been tackling things and really trying to come together. It's a well-bonded team. They really, even the freshmen, act like they've known each other all their lives. So hopefully that bodes well for our chemistry on the court.
She's the head coach of the Cal Poly women's basketball team in her 25th season, leading the squad. You can find them at Cal Poly WBB on social media. Faith Mimnaugh joining the CJ Silas Show. Okay, now how are you feeling? Let's see. We always are checking in on the kids. We're worried about COVID protocol. Did they have the vaccine? How are they feeling? Are they staying potted up? Are they washing their hands? Are they not touching their face? Here you are, almost a year and a half, 2 years away from the beginning of the pandemic. How are you, Faith, dealing with and staying positive after what you've been through since March of 2020?
Well, we're with the rest of the world on this. We're all trying to keep everybody healthy and hopefully have team members and all their families that can get through this without suffering any loss. I know that we've had a couple kids last year that ended up getting COVID. That wasn't fun, and we were always holding our breath to see if there were going to be other ramifications that might surface later, and any kind of lung issues or heart problems. So that's always a concern of mine. I want every single player on the team, coaching staff member, anybody that comes to watch our games, I want everybody to be safe and healthy and hopefully move back towards the more normal side of life. But I am very optimistic. I myself am double vaxxed and boosted as well, so I feel a fairly good level of protection. We all follow our rules of masking when we're indoors. The gym obviously is different for the kids because they're running up and down the court, but we do everything we can to try to protect all of our people.
And you're going to have a full gym. You're going to have fans in the stands, Faith. That's got to be so exciting.
It really is exciting. I feel so badly for the kids last year that missed out on those opportunities, and certainly the seniors specifically. They didn't really get a senior day. All the things that just are a little bit stinky. Their families not being able to watch them play. So, but we're all going through it all at the same time, and all trying to bond together and enjoy and take every single blessing that comes and hang on to it and really see it as a blessing that's in our lives. You take so many things for granted. That's become obvious. So I think the pandemic has really opened some eyes about all the little things that are important in life, and sharing sports with people that we love, that's a big one.
I agree. I do. And this weekend, you can see them for the first time in 2 seasons. Saturday, 12 o'clock, inside Mott Athletic Center. The Mustangs taking on Cal State San Bernardino. The next home game is on Tuesday, November 23rd, against the number 6 ranked Cardinals of Louisville. And then you also have the University of St. Thomas coming in that week, and Montana State, and Nevada and Denver. It's a full slate of awesome games, and all of them, as long as you're vaccinated or you have a negative test within 72 hours, you can go watch basketball in Mott Athletic Center. It's so cool. I feel you, sister. I feel you. Good luck, congratulations, and we'll see you in the gym.
Awesome. Thanks, CJ.
All right, take care. Faith Min-Manal, one of my most favorite guests on the CJ Silas Show. She's got such a good outlook, and she's so positive. And as a coach right now, just to have people back. I heard it when I was at that concert over a week ago, when that band stood on the stage and said, "We're never taking this for granted again." Women's basketball opens up this Saturday. The Cal Poly Sports Update. Cross country at the Big West Championships. The men took second place. The women took third. Next up, some of the team members will be at the NCAA Regionals in Sacramento on the 12th of November. Volleyball lost to Cal State Fullerton in 5 sets, though Tommy Stockham had 23 kills, a season high. Then they beat Long Beach State, and they're still third place in the Big West. Next up, CSUN, Friday, Santa Barbara, Saturday. Your Mustang volleyball team is 10-13, 8-4 in Big West Conference play. Men's and women's swimming, they won 17 of 32 events against Santa Barbara. That's a big deal against their hated rival. Kieran McNulty got the MPSF Male Athlete of the Week for what he did in the pool. Next up, they're hosting Cal Baptist this coming weekend. Football lost to Portland State. They're now 1-7, 0-5 in Big Sky Conference. Spencer Brash did come back at 19 of 33, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns. Next up, they're at Sac State for a 6 o'clock game. Cuesta College, the female and male athletes of the month. Christelle Moray in volleyball and Humphrey Quirey in wrestling. The wrestling team, the Meathead Mover Invitational happened, and they lost to West Hills Lemoore right before that. Women's volleyball lost to number 14 Ventura. Soccer lost to Moore Park. The women's team, they're 3-10 and 2 overall, and the WSC 2-5-2. Women's basketball, they only had 3 games in 2019, and they only had 2 games in 2020. They've got 28 games scheduled at Cuesta this season. Casey Blair's the new head coach. He's a former Cougar player and the former assistant on the men's team. The first game is at San Mateo. And that is your Cal Poly and Cuesta. Hancock baseball, the preseason number 4 in the coaches poll. It's so awesome. Cuesta's number 10. The 2021 season, the Bulldog baseball team went 18-6, 13-3, and they had no postseason because of the pandemic. They open up their season on the 27th of January against Sequoias. Football lost a heartbreaker this past weekend to number 4 Ventana. It was such a great game. Wide receiver Mike McCoy played quarterback. The kid out of Santa Ynez High. He played quarterback, wide receiver, and cornerback in high school, but it was his first time throwing the football for the Bulldogs. He's been their main wide receiver, and he did really well, but they lost. Next up, they're on the road to Long Beach this coming Saturday. You can watch that game at athletics.hancockcollege.edu. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff. Women's soccer lost to Cuesta 2-1. They're now 4-8-3, 2-4-2 in the Western State Conference. Next up, they're at Santa Barbara. Men's soccer beat Santa Monica 3-2. They're at LA Mission next. They're 3-12-2, 2-5 in the Western State Conference. Oh my gosh, more college basketball next week as all college basketball programs are starting to get ready for their non-conference season. We will have head coach John Smith from your Cal Poly Mustangs on the show next week. Speaking of the Cal Poly Mustangs, they're coming up right now, right here, an extra long pregame show. The Cal Poly Mustangs, all men's basketball, heard right here on ESPN Radio 1280 AM and FM 101.7. The Ticket. Tune in next week. We'll have a full show. We're cutting it a little short because we want to help out Cal Poly men's basketball to give them a full hour plus to bring you all the preseason coverage and give you all the information that you need to follow your Mustangs all season long inside Mott Athletic Center and on the road. I'm going to turn off my mic now. Next week, we'll be back, a full show, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. And if you can't hear the show live, please check out our podcast or go to the CJSilasShow.com and find Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And don't forget our new YouTube channel. And didn't our contest winner come in and pick up his Kobe Bryant poster today? He did. We got a picture of him. Jose came in, and we've got the contest going on all of November. Just go to Instagram, follow the posts, and do what you're supposed to do to get your name in the hopper. Thanks for listening to the CJ Silas Show. I'm going to turn off my mic now. Make an appointment to listen every Friday at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN Radio 1280 AM and FM 101.7. The Ticket. I am out.
Thanks for listening to the CJ Silas Show. Find her podcast on the CJSilasShow.com. Follow her on all social media platforms, including her YouTube channel. Make an appointment to listen every Wednesday on ESPN Radio 1280 AM and FM 101.7. CJ out.